Hello Whovians, it's Time Lord Myth here with you again, and today we're going to be looking at one of Tom Baker's best, and in my opinion, one of his creepiest stories, Terror of the Zygons. Yeah.
Why have you called me back? I hope you've got a very good reason.
Take my word for it, my dear. There are ancient mysteries here. Evil spirits haunt Moon.
Exactly what could have caused injuries like that, Doctor?
Something very big, very heavy.
Very savage.
There's something rather unusual in the lock.
Loch Ness?
Yes, sir.
Don't tell me you found the monster.
As it happens, Your Grace, that's just what we do need.
Machine guns may not be enough, Brigadier.
Nothing could stand against us.
Is it possible?
Change the destiny of us.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that trip down memory lane, Whovians. That was a trailer from the DVD release of Terror of the Zygons. And it was an important story in a couple of ways. Firstly, it was the end of the arc in space arc really, because we started off with the arc in space, then, the Sontaran experiment, then Genesis of the Daleks and Revenge of the Cybermen. And then this was the story that brought the travellers back to Earth. And it also represented a change because it was Harry's last trip in the TARDIS. It was also the last regular appearance of Alistair Lethbridge-Stewart and the unit team as a whole. Now, this story was written by Robert Stewart Banks, himself a Scots, and he originally came to script editor Robert Holmes with the idea of a story about the Loch Ness Monster, because he believed that the mythos and the mystery surrounding the Loch Ness Monster would be perfect fodder for Doctor Who. And Robert Holmes tended to agree, but he wanted Robert Banks Stewart to concentrate more on the Zygons rather than the Loch Ness Monster itself. And that was great because the actual Loch Ness Monster they used was a glove puppet, Whovians, and it universally gets panned. If there's one thing about this story that gets panned, it's the Scarasan or the Loch Ness Monster. But the Zygons themselves actually creeped me out. And the fact that they could replicate themselves as humans gets back to it's something that's inbuilt into people, the fear of losing our humanity. And we've seen that before in classic films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And the fact that someone's walking around with your face but is not you is terrifying. And one of the creepiest characters I found was Nurse Lamont, who was brilliantly played, I must say, here she is, a Zygon in a role of a nurse who's supposed to be caring and compassionate, and she was very cold and very distant. And then we have the lead, who, is secretly Broton, the leader of the Zygons. And coupled with that, we have all their goings-on captured through a camera in the lens of an eye on a deer's mounted head in the local pub. That gave it a really mystery, creepy feel. But one of the best things the designers did with this story was to make the Zygon spaceship semi-organic. and there's scenes where we see their viewing screen and there's veins running through it. Now that was creepy. I mean, that was genuinely creepy. And when you see a Zygon sort of twist this sort of nodule, that sort of hit home to you that this was partly a living thing, you know, it was partly created as a living entity. And the Zygons themselves were brilliant because they had this very reminiscent of a fetus look about them, and that made them terrifying too from our point of view. And the nodules on them, they were a great villain, and they actually have re-emerged in the new Who, and the design is brilliant. It's very much kept to the classic, but it looks a lot more solid, a lot more believable. But this was one of the best stories ever. It was creepy, atmospheric. As I said, one of the problems was with the Loch Ness Monster. But look, we've got to take it into account that it was still on a very tight budget, Doctor Who, back then. And so, you know, there may not have been a lot of money for effects. And yes, they probably cringe themselves, the producers, looking back on it now. But if you look at it from an invasion story, it's very, very good. The scene where a Zygon is, you know, fallen onto a pitchfork and has this horrible mewling sound. Oh, it just goes through you, Dark Realmers. Whovians. It's just great. Tom Baker is in top form. Still, you know, very angry with the Brigadier for dragging him back to Earth, you know, because this was where the Doctor's links with Earth gradually become a lot more tenuous, okay? Even though he's still got Sarah Jane with him as his companion, they do a lot more travelling in space. And this was deliberate to make the stories less earthbound as they were in the John Pertwee era. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed my review of Terror of the Zygons. As I said, it's available on DVD, and it's also one of the stories that's in the new Tom Baker first season Blu-ray set. Now, I'm debating whether to get that or not, because I've heard there's a few chops in it, a few changes, and personally, I like having individual Doctor Who DVD covers to look at and say, oh, yeah, my collection's growing. Okay, well, let me know what you think, Whovians. If you're a classic Whovian fan around my age, a little bit younger, and you've seen the original on TV, what did you think of it? Did it creep you out as much as it creeps me out, okay? And if you're a new Whovian, new to the classic series, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing this, because I'd love the comments and I love all your feedback. So until next time, this is Time Lord Myth saying I'll see you again somewhere in time and space. Bye for now.